Evening all. If anyone is watching, and if anyone who is watching would like to join us, they are welcome. We have spare characters. That's the advantage, I suppose, of military RPGs. You have a whole unit who will otherwise be relegated to red shirts and will be copying it. So tonight we're playing Duty and Honor, which goes along with Beat to Quarters, which is the naval version. It is a Napoleonic RPG, and it is straight up Napoleonic with no supernatural or peculiar elements. Whether I'll be able to resist screwing with that remains to be seen. Rules-wise, it uses decks of cards, like so. You have attributes called measures, which don't come into it very much. And you have a bunch of skills. And according to the different weapons that you might use, you draw different amounts of cards for that. So each time there's a challenge, I draw a card, which is called the card of fate. In this case, the 3 of clubs. People then draw a number of cards equal to their skill, plus or minus, according to difficulty. If you get the exact same card, that's a super duper ultra mega success. If you get the same number, that's another kind of success. If you get the same suit, that's another kind of success. And those scale down. You compare your number of successes in each category to whatever the bad guys or the difficulty or whatever else has got, and then that determines who succeeds. It's all rather simple, but is a brilliant underlying system if you wanted to do any kind of military gaming. People have done rules hacks for World War One, Vietnam, Starship Troopers, all kinds of stuff like that. But we will be playing it, straight-ish, and Napoleonic. However, we will not be playing the English. Instead, we will be playing the hated enemy of good Anglophiles everywhere, the French, during the retreat from Moscow after Napoleon's possibly greatest defeat. Right, let's bring in the players. Here we go. There is not a lot that you can tell anyone about your characters, because I've left them mostly deliberately somewhat vague, so that you can kind of round them out during play. But is there anything that leaps out at you about any of your characters that you want to lay out forward, or any questions about the rules or anything?
I just realised that I volunteered to play the officer, and there's an entire game subsystem about skirmish tactics. So, okay. Anyway, Lieutenant Batard, bourgeoisie, trying desperately to maintain or prove his son of the soil credentials, which he fails at regularly. He's the kind of officer who tries really hard and is probably roundly hated by his men.
Who wants to go next?
So I'm Pierre Picard. He's a 12-year-old boy who, for whatever reason, is in the army. Did they have kids in the army in Napoleon's army?
Drummer boys were typically between the ages of 12 and 16.
Okay, cool. So I'm non-combatant generally?
Technically a non-combatant, yes.
Okay. I don't really have much of a background. I'm the son of a lawyer. That's as much as I know at the moment. I'm sure it will come out in play.
And then we have the sergeant.
Thierry Lamar. He's your basic, been in a lot of battles, but got beat by the British at one point. He doesn't want it ever to happen again. And he was pretty pissed about getting beat by the Russians and has a mission to search one out and kill him.
Yep. Yeah, so part of the way the game works is you have missions. So your statistics and skills are in fairly constant flux. So you typically start with a military mission, and again, a game will progress through missions. If you succeed in the goals, things go up. If you fail in the goals, maybe you die, maybe your stats go down. You also have personal missions, which each character has, which you should try and fulfill. So that gives everyone a little bit of direction. If you do fulfill a mission, you can add a new one if you so wish. There's also a bunch of spare characters because there's about 10 people in your unit. So if you do cop it, you can swap to one of those characters. And you'll also have one of the ladies from the baggage train tagging along with you, Mademoiselle Brie. And that wasn't me taking the piss. Again, that was a random name that came up. So she's tagging along with you. And there are 3 grumbling grognards along with the other more named characters as well. So let me just double check and recap the rules. So yeah, if you draw the same suit as the card of fate, that's a normal success. If you draw the same number from any suit, that's a critical success. If you draw the exact same card, that's a perfect success. And if you draw a joker, that can count as any other card. So yeah, you can choose to have hyperly good success if you want, which is probably the way to go most of the time, but it's up to you.
Do you reshuffle back in, or do you work your way through the deck?
Reshuffle back in.
Okay.
You can also, if you need extra cards, you can risk your reputation in some way. If your reputation seems particularly, irrelevant in some way. But if you lose on a test where you've staked your reputation takes damage. Damage levels are normally fairly simple. You're either healthy, injured, maimed, or dead, and that's it. So some of you might have a special ability under traits that will give you an additional level of health. So we have actually 15 people watching, so I will offer again. We do have room in the game if anyone wants to join. Just let me know, and we'll see if we can sort something out. There are other characters. All right. It is the retreat from Moscow. Napoleon's arguably greatest defeat. Having overextended his stay in Russia, trying to invade, never start a land war in Asia, is left with very few supplies, disease running rampant through the ranks. The Grand Armée has been decimated to a huge degree, and now he's having to retreat in the winter through Russia, being constantly harried by Russian troops. Now, your section has been towards the rear of the column, and as you've been marching, or rather stumbling your way, you've been under constant attack by the Russians, riflemen taking pot shots at the retreating column. Occasionally, you hear the thunder of hooves, and cavalry does a quick sweeping attack down one side of the column. During the last attack, a blizzard blew in. You have become separated from the column by quite some way, and you've had to hide in a hollow in the ground to evade Russian troops who have been cavalry who've been riding around looking for you. They seem to have begged off, though, now that the snow has gotten too harsh. But you are all somewhat starving, somewhat chilled to the bone, and have really lost any kind of sense of direction of where you are, and the snow is still billowing around you. So, just to help explain how the game works, your first mission is to escape the pursuing Russians, to get further away from here, to ensure that these Russian hussars can't find you again. So, gather the unit together around the lieutenant, with snow settling on your shoulders and your hats, fortunately camouflaging you somewhat against the snow. What is the plan?
And we are all of the 69th Regiment, which I presume is a foot regiment.
Yeah, and you're all Volgeurs. They were skirmish troops, so fighting loose formation, firing at will.
So I know these men, right?
Yes.
We'll know their experiences, their civilian day jobs, etc., where they had any.
Yeah.
So what I'm looking for is somebody who is likely to be able to tell me if they haven't already worked it out, or if we can't work it out, what is the prevailing wind direction, and so which direction we need to go be heading west. West as fast as we possibly can.
So let's see, what skill would be useful for that? If anyone wants to look over their character sheet and make an argument as to why they would be able to answer the lieutenant's request.
Did I see that? Well, I saw in some of the backgrounds that some of them say farmer.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I'm farmer, and then I have a high awareness. I don't know what awareness is good for, but
yeah, I mean, I would say an awareness of 4 would mean I'd at least know which way the sun is and which way is west.
And I was a farmer,
right.
So I guess I would
be
paying attention to things like that throughout the day.
So I think either awareness or profession farmer would be useful here. So who has a good score in either?
I've got 4 in awareness. What's yours?
I've had a 4 as well, and a 2 in professional farmer.
Okay,
I'll give you a bonus
if you want to make the draw.
I'll give you a bonus card for being a farmer.
Okay. So
all right. So I draw the card of fate. So we'll keep this nice and simple for this test. Okay, I draw the 10 of spades. Sunny, you draw a number of cards equal to your awareness with an extra card and an extra card from Pierre.
You can get up to a maximum of 3 extra cards from my skill level.
Yeah, so 3 extra cards. That's 4 extra cards. So did you draw the 10 of spades?
No, I did the ace of diamonds, 6 of spades, 2 of clubs.
Well, let's go down the list. So you didn't draw Joker. You didn't draw the 10 of spades. Did you get any of them as a 10?
King and 3. No.
Okay, but you did draw a spade.
I did draw a spade.
Okay, so that's a simple success. So in this case, because I was making it nice and easy for you as the first test of the game, just 1 success, that's enough. But it's not great, but it is still a success. So, yeah, you think you can figure out which way is west. If the wind has been holding in the same direction from the north that it had been all day while you could see a bit better, then yes, you're fairly sure you know which way is west.
Lieutenant, I believe that west is a motion towards the direction that I think it is.
Very good, Sergeant. Very good. Very good. Is it going to get dark? If so, when?
Let's see what time it is. It is 6 in the evening, so
Probably
let's
already
presume
dark.
probably already dark. Yeah, it being winter and all.
Okay, dark, Russian steppe, blizzard. Sergeant, instruct the men that they are to rope themselves together in whatever manner they, using whatever they can find. I don't want people getting left behind or separated.
Will do, sir.
Okay. So rope.
Oh, sorry. Just from experience, I mean, in that part of the world, because that's where my farm is, is at night you can actually see pretty decent. I mean, out in with the snow, white snow on the ground, and then from the stars, I mean, it's pretty. Visibility is not horrible.
Yeah. I was going to suggest that with all the snow, whatever small amount of light there is, probably carries quite far. Okay, so carrying rope, it's not typical equipment, and you're not like engineers or mule runners or anything. So someone's going to have to make a scavenge roll to scare up enough, I don't know, braid, torn bits of uniform, whatever you can to string together some ropes.
I've got scavenge 2.
Got a 4.
Okay. So let's have since the sergeant was given the order, let's have a scavenge check from you with a bonus of +2 for Pierre helping you.
Okay.
So the card of fate is the Ace of Clubs.
Okay. Well, I got Jack of Clubs on my first card, 5 of Diamonds, Queen of Diamonds, 5 of Diamonds, 2 of Clubs.
So no aces.
No.
You didn't get the Ace of Clubs, which was the same card. Did you get any aces?
No, I got the closest I got was the Queen and a Jack. Yeah.
So how many clubs did you get? Just the one?
1.
Okay, 1 success. That's enough. Okay, it's a bit threadbare. It's like bits of people's epaulets and so on. All that pointless rope work and so on from people's tunics and jackets and so on. They managed to get together. It's more of a string than a rope, but it's enough that nobody should particularly lose sight of each other. You tie everyone together. The grognards grumble about it. Oh, why can't we just hold hands? But it seems to do the job. All right. Who is taking the lead to lead the section westward?
I think our estimable sergeant has the correct direction in mind and has the relevant experience for this job, so he will lead. I will be at the back. Make sure nobody gets straggly.
Okay. Right. So you're making your way through the snow, stomachs grumbling and eating at themselves. Occasionally someone will cough up a load of phlegm and spit it to the side in the snow. The wind dies back only to pick up again and fling snowflakes against you and threaten to knock you all over. You think you see what looks like at least a copse of trees, if not more, a bit further ahead, deeper into this sort of hollow that wends its way across the landscape. That would at least stop some of the wind from cutting into you. though it might slow you down to move through the trees. So, what do you want to do, Sergeant? You're in front.
Just try to pick footing carefully and try not to fall. I mean,
do you want to head to the trees or carry on past them?
No, let's head for some shelter. Yeah, get a little.
Okay. So you change course slightly, still heading, generally westward, and the column of the section falls in behind you. Everyone's struggling to keep up, but you're a big brute of a man, so you're kind of leaning into the wind and passing through it. Meanwhile, at the rear, can the lieutenant make an awareness check, please? -1 card. And hi Pete, hi Rachel, hi Melwinius, hi 28mm, and anyone else who's watching.
Other than the basic skill of 3, I don't think any personality things apply. Don't think any no, it doesn't seem like anything else applies. So yeah, just straight up 3. Okay, go ahead. Card of Fate is
2 cards you get to draw. The card of Fate is the King of Hearts.
Okay, 2 cards. My awareness is 3. Is there a penalty?
Yep, penalty of -1 for the blizzard.
Yep, okay. So that's a 4 of hearts and a 7 of clubs, so that is a success by suit.
Okay. Right. So the column shifts slightly ahead of you. You're sort of wondering why for a moment, but then enough of the snow clears that you can see the shadowy shapes of trees. Makes sense that the sergeant would head towards those. The wind shifts again, and you hear hoofbeats behind you.
How far behind me? Approximately.
With one normal success, you don't really know.
I don't really know.
But they can't be that far away because the sound of the blizzard, the wind. They must be pretty close, or the wind would carry the noise away.
And one horse, or more than one, or can't tell?
Do you have riding?
I don't think I do. I do, actually, but only 1 card, so probably a 0 for present purposes.
Draw a card.
Okay. Here's the
Ace
3
of
of diamonds.
spades.
Nope, so total failure.
You've no idea. Somewhere
okay.
between 1 and lots.
Some 1, 0, some many. Okay, so yes, I will skitter forward to the next man in the row, to the next man in the line, and tap him on the shoulder and raising my voice the minimum possible to be heard over the gale. Horseman, to the rear.
All right.
Pass it on.
Yes, word gets passed along the line, and hopefully it won't end up reaching the sergeant as "Horse man, hold my beer." All right. So yes, word reaches the sergeant from the rear of the line. There are horsemen inbound.
Okay. I will try to pick up the pace a little bit.
So try and double time it to the trees. Okay. Since you're
strong as an ox, I don't know if that could help.
It might. Right. Let's have ourselves another test. Let me just take a look at your character sheet. Strong as an ox, +2 for brawling and strength. Yeah, I'll allow it. Okay, to whip the men along and sort of lead the way and forge forward and get to the trees before the cavalry catches you. I think that's a soldiering roll for yomping. So, well, I say roll, but it's card draw. So with your bonus for being strong as an ox, you get 7 cards for soldiering.
Okay.
and you'll be drawing against the Russians. The card of fate is an 8 of clubs. So, do you have an 8 of clubs amongst your cards?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 more to pick real quick.
Okay.
I did not. I got 2 clubs. I got a jack and a 2.
Okay.
7 and 9 of diamonds. And then a 10, queen, and ace of hearts.
Okay. So that's 2 normal successes. All right. If I check the mission sheet, I see that the Russian hussars have soldiering of 3. So I draw 3 cards after I finish reshuffling. They got no successes. Okay. Right. So as a result of that action, yes, you put your head down, muscle against the wind and the snow, and push forwards. The string that is tying the soldiers together might not be strong enough for you to drag the whole unit forward, but it kind of feels like that's what you're doing. Fairly soon, you sort of wade through a bunch of largely dead undergrowth and into the cover of the trees. Instantly, it feels much better, though you know it's a bit of a false comfort. But at least the wind isn't biting through your skin and bones anymore, and you manage to get the rest of the unit into the trees and into cover. The snow is a lot thinner on the ground here, and your feet start to hurt as your blood starts to warm them up again. All right, so first mission was to escape the pursuing Russians. I realize I'm over-explaining things, but it's to showcase the game and to explain everything to you. So you made 2 successful challenges, which is what was required to get away from the Russian hussars. So everyone can increase their guts by 1. Do you want me to just do that to the sheets for you? So I don't think you've got editing rights.
I'll just make a note of it.
Okay.
Yeah, if you don't mind editing the sheet, that would be helpful.
Yeah. So guts plus 1.
It's now 4. Okay.
If you'd failed, of course, you would have had to have fought the hussars. All right. Okay. So yeah, as you take cover in the trees, as the lieutenant just kind of gets into cover with the rest of the unit, hunkering down, a group of 4 or 5 Russian hussars thunders past outside of the trees, running along the edge of this little copse or forest or whatever it turns out to be, just riding on past, shouting to each other to keep up the pace. But for now, at least, you have evaded them.
And they were
Go
also
on.
presumably heading west, so that they will, if we keep on our current bearing, they'll be ahead of us, albeit mounted and galloping.
Yes.
Okay.
But for now, you're safely within the woods. You got a little bit of cover from the wind, not quite as much snow, but the darkness, the night is drawing in. It's getting even colder, hard as that is to believe. You can no longer feel your noses or the tips of your fingers. So the next mission is to survive the blizzard.
I'm very cold, sir.
Yes, Petty. Yes. Of course you are. Of course you are. We all are. But I'm sure a solution will present itself. Casting around the wilderness of the steppe. And you say the snow is kind of more sort of slushy and an inch or two deep here, so it's not like we're going to be able to dig into it, right?
Yeah, you're not wading through it here in the cover of the trees, but the branches and so on above you are pretty weighed down with snow. Every now and again, you hear a crash as a branch snaps somewhere in the woods under the weight of the snow and plummets to the earth.
So I'm guessing it would be a soldiering check to work out an area of dead ground where, if we were able to get fires lit, they wouldn't be visible from, if we move further into the tree line and find a bit of dead ground, some kind of, dell or depression or whatever, where we can light fires and not advertise our presence. Is that a soldiering check?
Yeah, there's no survival skill. Scavenge is much stricter than I would have interpreted it as being. So I guess making camp is a soldiering type check. So you're giving the orders, so it'll be your soldiering with plus whatever the sergeant and anyone else can lend you, up to 3 extra cards.
Yes, and Lieutenant Batar is not proud of leaning on the experience of his non-coms. So, what do you think to this, Sergeant?
I have a 5 in it, so it sounds like a plan.
Okay.
So I can draw those full additional 5 cards, or am I capped at my own soldiering level?
Capped at. So you got your own soldiering, and then you're capped at plus 3 cards.
Okay, fair enough. So soldiering 2.
And the card of fate is the Queen of Hearts.
Okay, so we have. Let me just double check the ascension, the order in which we can compare these. So there's no jokers. Haven't got the same card. I have got 1 queen, Queen of Clubs, which is a critical success, and then a Jack of Hearts, which is a match suit. So critical success plus 1 success if they stack.
So they don't. What you do is you compare who has the most of the highest level successes, and then if you need to, you go to the next level of success and compare, and so on down.
Yep.
But with a queen, I believe that's a critical success.
Yes.
I think the exact same card is a perfect success. All right. So consulting with the sergeant, between you decide what you need to find. Scout out through the trees, having to untie everybody because otherwise you just get tangled in all the branches and everything. But eventually, one of the soldiers finds a suitable depression a bit deeper into the trees where hopefully you won't be noticed so much. And this seems to be the best possible place to make camp. Not that there's a whole lot of choice, but there is some bare earth here, some relatively dry wood that you might be able to work into a fire, and damp wood, green wood, might be more white smoke, a bit harder to see against the blizzard. All right. So you found a place to make the camp. Now successfully starting a fire in a blizzard, but you've got the cover of the trees. So, well, someone's going to need to make another soldiering check to build up a fire.
I can do 5, or do I lose card? So it resets each time, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got a 5 in it, just straight up. So
okay. With the other soldiers helping you, you can have plus 3. So the card of fate is the Jack of Diamonds.
Okay, got the Jack of Diamonds. Jack.
Okay.
Yeah.
So perfect success. All right. Yeah, you get the men to go and gather as much dry material as they can. One of the soldiers has some letters from home from the inside of his jacket, which are dry and make excellent kindling. Though it is a shame to set fire to the erotic fancies of his wife back home, but still needs must. So you managed to get a small fire going, as big as you dare, pretty much, partially covered over to disperse the smoke a bit more. And everyone huddles around it and warms their extremities.
I will issue an order that the people standing close to the fire are to be in rotation. So it'll be, 6 people closest, 6 people on the outside, like penguins.
Okay. So
And I shove Petit into the first group standing nearest the fire.
shove him into the fire. He's got more body fat than everyone else. He should burn well.
Yeah.
I am painfully aware that if we have to start eating people, I'm going to be the first one to go.
Strong drummer's arms, lots of muscle. Okay. All right. So after a while, one of the grumbling grognards comes over, bringing an armful of, relatively dry firewood that he's been able to find. Private Urbain. He has a pipe clamped in his teeth, but he's long since run out of tobacco. Lieutenant.
Yes, Private.
I saw something while I was gathering firewood.
I will wait, assuming that he knows that my silence indicates carry on.
Okay, the silence drags on for a little while.
Well, out with it then, man.
Puts his pipe from one side of his mouth to the other. Well, there's some fresh stumps. Someone has been cutting wood nearby.
I see. How far? Which direction?
Come with me, sir. I'll show you.
Sergeant, you're in charge.
Yes, sir.
Private Urbain brings down his carbine and sort of holds it at the ready just in case, and leads you back through the trees. In the thinner crust of snow here, it's relatively easy to follow his own tracks back through, and it's mixed forest, so there's a bit of a mat of pine needles underneath as well. So your boots tend to go through the crust of snow and into the spongy needles beneath. But yes, he leads you along, and there is a small clearing with several fresh stumps where conifers have been cut down. And there are some drag marks leading away into the woods. The snow hasn't completely covered the drag marks yet, which suggests that they're relatively recent.
Now, my experience of this is going to be limited, but I'm going to rely slightly on common sense. Have these been cut down? Have these been cut down by people equipped with tools for the job, or are they kind of splintered and battered and obviously ad hoc?
To your unpracticed eye, it does look like someone's cut them down with an axe for the most part.
Unlikely to be members of the army, then. And the direction of the tracks relative to our campsite?
Further to the south than where your campsite is. It looks like the woods expand outwards. I'm thinking perhaps if people are cutting down wood, there might be a logger's camp, perhaps a cabin of some kind, proper shelter, food. His stomach goes audibly.
Perhaps. Good work. Back to the camp.
Yes, sir. He shoulders his carbine on the strap and picks up a few more pieces of dry wood.
Head back to the camp. Men, there was a possibility, only a possibility, mind you, of finding shelter. However, where we are is relatively safe. We have a fire for warmth. I am not going to order any of you to accompany me to investigate this possibility, but anybody who wishes to volunteer may do so now.
Sir, I'm small. I could probably go unnoticed if you want me to go and take a look.
We can't send a boy to do a man's job.
Unfortunately, Sergeant, the boy has entered a man's world, whether he will or not.
I'm a man.
And so you shall prove, young Master Picard, and so you shall prove. Sergeant, was that a vote to accompany me?
Yes, I'm not going to leave my lieutenant or the little of us in danger. So I will go.
The rest of us will heroically stand guard around the campfire, sir.
Do you think?
Yes, to make sure that nobody comes along and steals it.
So yes, appoint the most kind of level-headed, probably the one with the highest soldiering skill to take command in mine and the sergeant's absence.
I think there's a corporal somewhere.
Can't we take a red shirt with us?
Just in case.
And so the standing orders are, if it's now about 7 in the evening, isn't it? So if we don't return by daybreak, they are to continue to head west to try and link up with the rear guard of the army.
What are we doing? How do you explain what a role-playing game is to somebody in a couple of minutes? We are playing Duty and Honor, which is a Napoleonic role-playing game. It's, I guess, in the most simplistic terms possible, D&D, but Napoleonic.
What I want to know is, how did this turn up in their YouTube algorithm if they don't know anything about any of this?
Who knows? The algorithm's been acting a bit weird lately. I think it's on the brink of sentience. Anyway. All right. So the sergeant, the drummer boy, and the lieutenant head off into the woods, which sounds like the beginning of a dirty joke, but isn't. Right. You arrive back at the point where the trees were cut down. The relatively fresh smell of bare chipped pine from the chopped down trees. And you can see the drag marks leading off through the woods.
They went that way, sir.
Thank you, Pierre. Thank you. Now, Pierre may or may not recognize the lieutenant's most patronizing tones there. Sergeant, you're able to follow these tracks, yes?
Oui, sir.
Lead on.
All right.
Okay. Well, let's have an awareness check, but they're very easy tracks to follow. So you have an additional 2 cards. And the card of fate is...
Yes, 4.
7 of hearts.
Cards, let's see. The 10, 4, and 9 of spades. 10 and 8 of diamonds, and the Queen of Hearts.
So 1 heart by the skin of your teeth success. Okay. You follow the tracks as best you can. You lose them for a moment and then have to sort of cast around desperately, and then you're not sure it's quite the right way, but then you find a nice, good solid boot print in the mud. So that suggests you are, after all, on the right course. After about 10 minutes of relatively hard going through the woods, you spot a flickering firelight up ahead, and you can smell wood smoke.
I'd like to have my saber drawn at this point.
Occasionally, when the wind changes, You can hear a man's voice and a woman's voice arguing, you think, in Russian, but it's Russian, so it's a bit hard to tell.
Do we have any Russian speakers in the company?
The lady from the baggage train speaks Russian, but she's not with you. She's staying warm.
Everybody understands the universal language of threatening behavior, so I think we'll probably be all right. Okay. And is there? Okay. So this is kind of intermittent trees. Presumably some sort of snow-covered ferns or something like that on the ground, and there's no sign from there what we can hear that they're actually arguing with each other. So they are definitely otherwise engaged.
Yeah.
We don't want them fleeing if we can help it. So my suggestion is, in fact, my orders are. We approach by stealth as best we can. Once we get to within, I don't know, a dozen yards, then we stop. We stop with the stealthy approach, and we just try and make them captives.
So can I make a suggestion?
Of course, Pierre.
Well, if a little boy knocks on their door, they're probably not going to be immediately hostile to me, but it'll give you time to just shoot them in the head.
Picard, you would have made one day a fine, if somewhat aggressive soldier. My suggestion, from what we've seen of the Russian people, given that we've burned down their capital, slaughtered their civilian population, tramped across their land, burning and destroying as we go, that you marching in with a sort of, French uniform with a double, with the eagle-headed brass buttons, you are not going to be their first object of charity. On the other hand, we have limited shot, limited powder, and I don't wish to waste it on a couple of old civilians if we can help it.
And to be fair, though, the Russians did burn down a lot of their own country, which is why you're all starving.
That's true. Yes. Yes. They also burnt down Moscow and then blamed it very successfully in propaganda on the French.
Some things never change.
So, yes. So we will creep up as close as we can and then emerge from cover, waving firearms and or swords.
Can you all make an intrigue check with a bonus card to creep close up?
Intrigue.
And you're drawing against the Eight of Clubs. Then
if you have
just
nothing
have one
by
card.
You just have one card if nothing's by it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I've given you a bonus card for them arguing. So
I only draw the one card, which is the bonus card.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a failure.
6 of hearts for me.
Yep, 5 and a 3 of hearts for me. So I think that was an abject failure all round.
Yes.
Yeah, I got 3 hearts before.
So universal failure. So you sort of spread out into your skirmishing line, even though there's only 3 of you, and Pierre only has a bayonet to protect himself with, and you start creeping forward. And then it's like a cacophony of breaking twigs underfoot, and then Pierre's foot sinks into some of the mud where the ground's been cleared around here, and ends up swearing out loud because he gets stuck. And the jig is up. The arguing sounds abruptly stop, and the door to the cabin flies open, and a man wearing a big, heavy bare skin, and with a hatchet in one hand, looks out into the night and shouts something in Russian.
I can get my personal mission over with here.
Murder innocent civilian.
He's Russian. It counts.
It's personal mission. I'm going to charge towards him.
Okay. So yes, the sergeant abruptly squares his shoulders and charges towards the door. The man's still a bit night blind from the firelight within, so he doesn't notice until you're pretty much on him, and then he raises his hatchet and tries to swing it at you. Okay. Combat. One-on-one combat, in fact.
Can I charge in as well? Yelling
I think this probably took everyone by surprise, but you can act next turn unless someone's dead.
Okay.
Right. So his hatchet gives him 3 cards. Your saber should be in your combat section.
I got 4. What is musket brawl?
It's when you're smacking someone with the blunt end.
Okay. Well, I had better in that, but I said I had my saber out. So yeah, 4 cards in that.
Okay.
And then I get one of my traits is strong as an ox. I get +2 cards for brawling and strength. So I get that.
Yeah. So that only adds to brawl, not for sword damage. But you're out for blood. So yeah. So draw your 4 cards. You are trying to get the 10 of diamonds.
I like this random card generator. I actually almost got a full flush. Jack, Queen, 10, and Ace of diamonds.
So you got the exact one. So, right. So that is a perfect success. Right, let's see what he gets. 1 and a 2 and a 3. Okay, he got no successes. So yes, suddenly this enormous bull of a Frenchman appears out of the snowy night, and runs this forester through. He gives a strangled grunt, and sort of folds up before you with your saber pierced clean through his back. You draw out your sword. His body slumps to the ground, pumping blood out front and back. And a piercing, shrieking scream of the woman still inside the cabin echoes out through the night. So what's everyone doing?
I'll go and stab the woman.
In order of rank, I think. Oh, you want to go in and stab the woman?
Yeah.
Okay.
Being a 12-year-old born in a foreign country, I know how to swear at them in Russian. So I'm going to yell "Blyat" at her as I stab her.
Unless Drama Picard is substantially faster than me, I will. If his intentions are obvious, then I will command him. Drama Picard, stand down.
My intentions would be pretty obvious. I'd be running with my bayonet in my hand, yelling Russian swear words at them.
Do you want to obey orders and stop? Or...
Yeah, I'm a good soldier. I will obey orders and stop.
Okay. And the sergeant?
I just kind of flick the blood off of the blade, and I step into the room to survey the woman and the inside. But I won't be aggressive towards her. I mean,
she's backed away to the rear of the cabin, and with shaking hands is trying to take an ancient matchlock musket down from the wall.
If we're all in there now,
you can all be now.
Yeah. So I'll seize it from her. Just presumably unless she's going to be extraordinarily dexterous and prepared, then I'll just grab the musket out of her hands.
No problem. Yeah, you grab it off her, pull it away. She beats on you with her fists, but it's not really doing much to you.
I want her subdued, and I want her subdued quickly. Use the butt of the musket, smack her in the teeth.
Okay. Yeah. You give her a sharp smack with the butt of your carbine. She folds up and falls down in amongst the wooden chairs and onto the floor of the cabin.
Stand over her. Stoi!
Yeah, you probably picked up a few words.
Sergeant, search this place.
Yes, sir.
Found this spoon, sir. Okay, there is a big dead Russian with a hatchet. There are some more furs, some snares and traps. There is a hearth fire with a slightly rusty iron stove. But there doesn't seem to be any food, and the cabins are all open. There's one big raised bed platform, and there's another smaller bed platform. So presumably there was a child or a pet here as well, perhaps. But it just seems like it was this couple living in the woods, trapping, wood cutting. There's a fairly hefty stack of wood outside, and it is gloriously warm in here.
And the entire company could fit in, even if we all had to sort of, sit around the walls or whatever.
Yes. Les sardines.
Yeah. Sergeant, go back, fetch the rest of the men, bring them here.
Yes, sir.
So what should we do with the body over there? I'm so hungry.
As I walk by to leave, I reach down and grab his bear or wool clothes and throw it around my shoulders.
Yeah, it's a big bearskin vest, which you can grab and pull on. Warm. The men are very happy to hear that there is shelter nearby. Break up camp, stamp out the campfire, and follow on after you. So you get the whole unit back crammed into this cabin. The woman seems to have awoken again from her concussion and is just sort of curled up in the corner, sobbing and counting her remaining teeth.
I will. I've spent long enough in a large field army to know what can happen in situations like this. So I will make sure to interpose myself between her and the rest of the men. Give instructions for the man's body to be taken outside. The men are free to divvy up his possessions as best they can. New boots, etc., stockings, that sort of thing. And then just leave him outside.
Okay. Is there any food, sir?
Not that we have found, no.
Can we have the woman translate?
Yes, you do have your camp follower. She's fairly in with the colonel, which is probably why no one's done anything untoward to her, but she can translate, yes. Bree can translate for you. What do you... We'll just assume, right? So what do you want to talk to the woman about?
Food. Where is your food?
You stole it. And you kidnapped my son.
There are many tragedies in war, tell her. I do not wish to visit any more upon her. They have no supplies, no grain buried outside against this sort of weather.
You took everything. There might be something left buried, but not much.
You will, turning to our translator, tell her she is to take the sergeant out and investigate their food stores for anything that might be remaining. She's to show him where it is, help him unearth it.
Okay. So Sergeant and the Grogs can head out back and it's going to be hard work digging through the hard frost. So let's have the sergeant make a soldiering check with 2 extra cards for his ox-like strength and another 3 cards for the grogs reluctantly helping you and grumbling the whole time.
So it's how many extra? 1, 2.
Extra 5 cards.
And then I have what skill am I using?
Soldiering.
Soldiering. Okay.
Yeah.
'Cause that's scavenge. I didn't know if that. I mean, does she have any? I mean, I'm a farmer. Can I look for any obvious signs of a root cellar?
Well, there is a small cellar. It's just really a kind of step down, but it's been cleared out of any food as well.
Oh, okay. All right. So,
There's a bunch of empty hooks and so on. So someone has been here and taken their food.
the 9
But they might have the
cards.
stuff buried.
Okay. I got
The card of fate is a 4 of hearts.
no 4 of hearts and no other 4. I did get ace of hearts and 10 of hearts though.
So 2 successes. All right. You manage, by dint of great effort, with much grumbling from the grogs, to dig down through the worst of the frost layer and find a stash that they've got down there. Some pots of preserved foods of some kind. I don't know. Salt pork, maybe, bit of that. Some nuts gathered during the autumn, and some bottles of booze, which don't go off after all. Enough for maybe 2 people to get a couple of decent meals out of, but it'll be thin gruel indeed, spread amongst all the men.
Well, thin gruel it is, because everybody's getting an equal share, except the woman who gets nothing. Sorry.
Mhm.
It would have been kinder to let me stab her, sir. She's going to starve to death.
Perhaps. And since we seem to have had a stroke of luck, I will not, and probably wouldn't dare. It would be very stupid of me to try, but I'm not even going to try. In fact, I'm going to openly encourage the men to drink.
Okay.
There's not enough of them to get steamingly drunk, is there?
No. Even if just one person drank all of the booze that's here, he'd get tipsy-ish. Right, so you have managed to survive the blizzard. There's another mission down. Everyone gets +1 discipline and +1 to their scavenge skill.
Do I get
I will.
another +1 to guts for my personal?
Oh,
mission?
yes, for your personal mission. Yes. So let me just update your sheets there. So +1 discipline and +1 scavenge. +1 discipline. +1 scavenge. And Sergeant Lamar completed his mission.
Just so people at home can get a sense of progression and stuff in this, is that a permanent skill bump +1 scavenge, or is that only for the duration of the story?
So as you go along, if you fail in missions, things can drop as well as go up. So it kind of sways
itself out. Yeah.
fairly wildly up and down. Yeah.
Can things go negative?
No, it can only go to 0. I should have thought of this and given everyone editing rights, but it's a bit late now. Okay.
Picard, aka Chucky.
While everybody's eating, I'd like to get the axe and his hand axe that he had and sharpen it up and present it to Picard as a gift for being brave.
Can I try and sneak some of the food to the woman?
You can. Do you want to make an intrigue check?
Ooh, player versus player opposed.
Yes. So anyone who cares, well, anyone who's a player, so you two, if you care, you can make an awareness check at the same time. So I will draw the card of fate.
Can I use
And then-
Master for this because it's distributing food?
You're trying to be sneaky. So intrigue or skullduggery.
I have neither. So
Okay, then you draw one card, but the maximum level of success you can get is normal success.
okay.
And you two others, you draw awareness. Okay, and the card of fate is the Jack of Diamonds.
Awareness.
Okay, I got one non-matched diamond.
Okay.
Oh, I failed.
Is it diamond? Yeah, I got 8 of diamonds and 6 of diamonds.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 of
So yeah, you both spot Pierre because he is slipping food to the woman with all the stealth and cunning of a child hiding his peas under his mashed potato.
Without any show, without sort of trying basically not to let anybody else notice that he's doing it. If he's already handed it over to her and she has it, I will walk over to her and just stand over her and extend my hand, expecting her to hand it back to me. But if he's still got it, I will just sort of very gently and without drawing attention to myself, push his hand away from her.
She's got it. I was lifting it to her mouth when you interpose, and then she reluctantly puts the food in your hand.
And this could only have been some of your share, Picard. Is that right, Pierre?
Yes, this was some of mine. I thought we can't let her starve. That's a cruel way to kill her.
You are a soldier of the Emperor of France, Drummer Picard. You are no use to me if you starve. Eat, and I will stand over him and watch him eat and swallow every mouthful.
Yep, I will eat my dinner like a good boy.
If you don't eat your salt pork, how can you have pudding? Not that there is any, but hypothetical pudding.
How can you have any pudding if you don't eat your meat?
Oh, the Shark series being quite good is a massive understatement. It's one of the best TV series ever.
Yeah, well, you know, English understatement, it's a thing. But yes, 10 lashes. Though I get the feeling that Lieutenant Batard is a bit of a softie as far as Imperial discipline is concerned.
How did he get the name Lieutenant Bastard?
Because that's his name.
It's an ironic nickname.
Yes.
Well, I mean, the flip side is he's perfectly cognizant of the fact that this woman is probably going to starve to death, but his troops are more important than her.
But you saved her life when I tried to stab her.
You French come into our land, you kill my husband, you kidnap my son, you dig out what little supplies you left me the first time. I spit on you.
How long ago was her husband, not her husband, her son kidnapped?
Bree asks on your behalf. She says, me and my husband, we brought some of the wood back. Little Vlad was supposed to be in here, but he was gone and the food was gone.
This was today?
Yes, earlier today. We saw some of your soldiers earlier moving through the woods. We kept away from them.
So we're
Let's do
right
it, yours.
behind the rest of the army. We should probably get moving.
One of the grogs speaks up. Lieutenant, I don't think I can march anymore today. It took me half an hour just to get my boots off.
Yes, of course. Your enthusiasm does you great credit, Drummer Picard. But, again, we are no use to the Emperor, starved, sleep-deprived, frozen. We stay here for the night. I'm presuming there are how many of us notionally?
10,
So,
plus the lady.
so 10. I'm presuming that it will be a sort of 2-man, 2-shift watch system we've got going, something like that.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is we will select. In fact, the sergeant will do this. I will delegate this to the sergeant. He is to select the 2 men who are strongest and least afflicted with hunger, cold, etc. They will maintain the watch tonight. The other 2 who would be on watch are entitled to sleep along with the rest of us.
All right. So you issue your orders for the night, and you've got men on watch. Is anyone else? Are you going to have shifts watching the woman, or are you going to tie her up, or?
Yeah, I don't want to risk overreaction or anything. So yes, it's probably best that she's bound and gagged, but she is allowed to. We'll stick her on the truckle bed or whatever, the single bed.
Yeah.
I'm going to attempt something either very brave or very stupid, which is probably going to result in me dying.
Oh, come on! Why not both?
Once it looks like everyone's asleep, I'm going to try and sneak past the watch, but if I can't sneak past, I'll persuade them to let me out and try and catch up with the army because they aren't far ahead.
All right. Let's see. Okay, the grogs who are on watch have awareness 2. So, it's intrigue or skullduggery. I'll give you a bonus card to try and slip by them.
Okay. So just the one card.
Yeah. The card of fate is the Ace of Spades. The Ace of Spades.
What with dysentery and typhus, I expect there's probably a coming and going all night anyway.
I have the 4 of clubs.
Okay, so that's a failure. Yeah, between dysentery, typhus, and the questionable safety of eating salt pork that's been buried for 6 months. Yeah. At least you don't have an officer called latrine.
Yeah. Can I try and use my charm to get them to let me out?
Yes. How do you want to try and persuade them?
I'm just going to try to tell them that the lady said that her son was taken by the French earlier today. That means that the rest of the army can't be far ahead. If you let me go, I'm small, I'm fast, I can try and catch up with them and get them to wait for everyone else.
That sounds quite persuasive to me. So, whoops, nearly lost my cards there. Right. You're still going to have to draw a card to really persuade them because they don't especially want to cross the lieutenant. So, let's see. Make a diplomacy check. And you can have an extra card because that sounded thoroughly reasonable to me.
Do I get anything for my charm score, or is that a separate thing?
No, the charm's more for recovering if you take damage to your social standing and so on.
Okay, so I'll be drawing 2 cards then. Okay. Can I put my reputation against this? Because I have reputation with the rank and file, and this is going to either improve it or really fuck it up.
And you have really good reputation with the rank and file because you're seen as a bit of a lucky, a lucky puck. So use your rep to give you +3 then. So that's a total of +4 cards to your diplomacy. So it's 5 cards, I think. Right. And the card of fate is 4 of diamonds.
Sorry, the suits I'm using aren't actually normal suits. I'm having to convert them.
Yeah.
Oh, I have the Jack of Diamonds.
Okay. So that's at least a diamond. Anything else?
Sorry, the four, did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a 4 as well.
Okay. So that's an even better success.
Yeah.
Okay. The two grogs sort of look at each other, tilt their heads back and forth, sort of silently communicating with one another. They've been fighting for the Grand Armée since the start. Private Satanini comes over to you and says, "All right, boy, but take this with you." And he reaches into his threadbare long coat and takes out a pistol and hands it to you.
Thank you, sir. I realise he's the same rank as me, but I'm going to call him sir because of his age.
Yeah. Just in case. Do you need me to load it for you?
Do I know how to load a gun? I've got soldiering 1, so I assume I know how to use a pistol, right?
Yeah, you probably, you're just not given one because technically you're a non-combatant, but
yeah. No, sir, I can manage. Thank you.
good boy. It straightens your uniform a bit. All right. Yes. Go find the army and return to us swiftly. There's a good lad. All right. So off Pierre goes to his doom. All right. Trying to think what to make you draw for this. I guess soldiering to make your way through the dark woods at night when there could be a Russian behind every tree and it's all rather terrifying. So can you make a soldiering check, please?
Would awareness count for that?
Oh, your second test will be awareness.
Okay. All right, I'll make my soldiering test. What am I drawing against?
You're drawing against the 2 of diamonds.
I've got 3 of spades, so it's fail.
Okay. Right. You are now injured. Make a note somewhere of that. So you head out into the night. The blizzard's whipping up a bit more. Snow is being blown through the trees and blown down off the branches to settle on you. It's very dark, very cold, and you're very alone out here, hyper aware of every noise going on around you. You get scared, terrified. There's a sudden loud noise nearby, and you sort of run blindly into the woods for a bit until your heart creeps back down your throat and back into your chest, and you steel yourself. Can you make another soldiering check, please?
Okay.
This time, your target is the Queen of Clubs.
Well, I have spades.
Okay. You are now maimed. So, yeah, you're shivering, cold, kind of delirious from it. stumbling through the woods, when all of a sudden you happen across what looks to be a man in a French uniform. He's leant up against a tree with his back to you, looking out ahead through the forest.
Okay. I'll say to him, Sir, I found you.
He doesn't say anything. He just stands there.
He's dead, isn't he?
Well, you'll need to get closer to check.
Okay, I'll go up and have a look because he's not responding to me.
Okay, you go up and sort of look around him. Yeah, he's leant hard into the tree. His mouth is open and there's an icicle of dribble down through his scrubby beard. There's a pipe frozen to his lips. He's still holding a small pouch of tobacco in his arm, which seems to be frozen stiff. And the aqueous humor in his eyeballs has swelled up as it's frozen. And his eyes are sort of bulged out and icy.
Can I take his tobacco?
Yes.
We have
use
someone
your
in need of
use your guts as your card draw.
that. Okay.
It's
I get
held in
+2
his
on
death
that
grip.
'cause I'm hard as nails.
Okay, and your target is the 4 of spades.
Do I have any? Right, best I can do is a spades.
Okay, well, that's still a success. All right. Yeah, you grab hold of his hand and pull hard, trying to get the little pouch of tobacco out. There's a sudden crunch, and a couple of his fingers snap off, and you manage to get the pouch free.
Okay. Well, was it clear which way he was headed?
Presumably the way he's facing, and when you look out that way, make an awareness check. At -3 because you're maimed.
Okay.
Your target is the Queen of Spades.
Well, then I have failed.
Okay. Well, presumably he was headed in that direction, but you can't really see anything in that direction. There's not much in the way of tracks.
Okay. Well, I guess keep running that way.
Okay. So you carry on stumbling in that direction. Half dead from cold, clutching onto this little pouch of tobacco. We will come back to you in a minute. Meanwhile, some hours later, the men whose shift of standing guard it was come and nudge everyone awake. It's dawn, sir.
Thank you, Private. Thank you. Cast around the room. Where is Drummer Picard?
A couple of the grognards look slightly shifty, but everyone else doesn't seem to know and is kind of half panicking, looking under the bed and things like that.
Well, fortunately, there are only 2 suspects.
Yeah, indeed.
Gentlemen, do you have anything to say on this? A Paddington hard stare.
Make an intimidation check with 2 bonus cards for rank.
Intimidation. Okay, so that's 0, which is draw 1 card. So am I drawing 2 in total or 3?
2 in total.
2 in total. Thank you. All right.
And your target is the Ace of Hearts.
Queen of Hearts. So single success.
Okay. Eventually, one of the men crumbles. Well, you see, so he came to us with this bright idea, and he was kind of right. He's small, he's fast. He could catch up to the column. If they'd been through here stealing things, they were getting ahead of us, sir. So he volunteered to go and run down the column and have them come back for us.
You let that boy go out into that weather, in the dark, in hostile territory.
Well, when you put it like that, sir, it seems less clever. But he did volunteer.
Yes, and you let him. Sergeant, record that this man is to have 1 week's pay deducted.
Yes, sir.
I just looked this up. Apparently, there was no corporal punishment in the Grande Armée. It had been abandoned after the French Revolution.
Well, not the case in the British Army, and that's
Well,
why we beat the frog.
Yeah, that's why we won.
Bunch of pansies. They all got participation medals.
Now I'm really morally confused.
And if you let a young boy run into the night, I will taunt you a second time.
Do you think I'm not putting on an outrageous French accent? Very well. Well, since there is nothing much to be done here, there's no food, there's no breakfast to be had. Everybody's warm as well as best they can. I'm taking everybody was sensible enough to hang their clothes up by the fire, etc., dry them out as best they can, and so on and so forth. So we will prepare to make an immediate departure.
Sir, what should we do with the woman?
We're going to take her firearm, unbind her, and just leave her here.
But, sir, she could give the Ruskies intelligence.
What, that a party of desperate Frenchmen are heading west? Yes, I'm sure that will be unique.
As you wish, sir. The people seem less inclined to second guess your orders this morning. I wonder why.
And we will continue. We will continue west.
The threat to Lucky Pierre seems to have got everyone's morale up, and they're very much champing at the bit to head off after the boy. So presumably the sergeant's taking the lead again?
Yes.
Okay, so if Sergeant Lamar could make an awareness check to follow Pierre's little footprints through the snow, that would be helpful.
Provided they are heading west. We are not searching for Pierre if we're headed west. And if his footprints head east, too bad.
That's all right. A very compassionate letter to his mother.
2 queens, an 8, and an ace.
Okay, and I drew the 9 of diamonds. Did you get any 9s? And did you get any diamonds?
No 9s, but one of the queens was queen of diamonds.
Okay, you're making slower progress than you would have liked. It does seem like Pierre spent most of his time heading west, but there is a point where he seems to have suddenly panicked and taken off to the north. However, you have noticed some other boot prints, like there was a line like yours, a skirmish line, marching single file through the woods here. The boy, however, seems to have departed from that track. If you want to follow Pierre, you're going to have to turn off and head north. If you want to carry on following the tracks, you're going to have to carry on this way.
I'll relay that to the lieutenant.
It gets passed back down the line.
Okay, order the men to halt. Ask the sergeant to step a few paces away from the men to discuss this.
Yeah. The men scatter into a loose line, some of them taking cover, scanning the tree line.
Sergeant, I would value your input on this question. My instinct would be to continue heading west.
Might as well. He headed north. It's going to put us right back in, the line of fire, so to speak.
We will give it until noon. If we don't show signs of catching up to him, we will continue our westward course. But until noon, we march north.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Meanwhile, Pierre, you awaken. You are no longer maimed. You are only injured.
Okay.
A rather gaunt-looking man in the tattered remnants of a French uniform is peering down at you. You can feel the warmth of a fire against your right-hand side.
Am I dead?
No, my pity, you are not dead.
Oh, that's good.
Here, sit up. Eat something.
Are you with the what are we looking for? What is it? The rest of the battalion, or
Yeah.
yeah? Are you with the battalion?
And he sort of looks at your uniform. What's left of it and says, yes, we are also with the 69th. The 69.
How many of you are there?
Us? Most of our section. There's about 10 of us left. We're trying to catch up to the column.
We have 10 of us as well. I was trying to catch up ahead of them.
Oh, damn. I thought you were with the main column.
I was hoping you were with the main column. Did you kidnap somebody's son?
Insurance. He taps the side of his nose. Here. And he presses a bowl of warm broth into your hand.
Oh, thank you, sir.
It's
did my
not
drum
much.
survive this getting lost in the woods, by the way?
Yes, your drum is fine. Yeah, after a moment's panic, you see that it's laid next to you on your bedroll. So, who's your commander? How many men?
Lieutenant Bertard. We have about 10 of us left.
Another section. Be good if we can join together.
Well, I came from... where did I come from? I don't know where I am now. I can't give you directions, sir. I woke up here.
Well, we'll just have to hope we run into your friends. Do you think they were that far behind you? How come you were sent out ahead?
I volunteered to go against the orders of the lieutenant. I was hoping to be a hero, sir.
Well, maybe you are surviving all that. At least the snow is abating a little. Yeah. Eat up. I'll confer with the rest of my men. So, are you just going to lay in bed and eat?
Yeah, I'm just going to eat and be thankful that I'm not dead and that I did find someone.
Okay. Meanwhile, further back in the woods, some hours behind, probably. You take the unit north, following his tracks as best you can. Eventually, they bend back around to the west. And Sergeant Lamar, you spot what appears to be a French soldier standing guard, but facing the wrong direction. Leant up against a tree.
So I can see his clothing is French?
Yeah.
Okay. I just kind of motion with my hands for the rest of the group to kind of stay still, and I will try to approach him.
Okay. So the rest of the unit warily takes cover again as you approach. As you get close, you realize the man is dead. All the color is drained from his face. And when you come around him, you can see that several of his fingers are snapped off.
Okay, I'll motion for the rest of the group to join me.
Can you make an awareness check, please? Your target is the 3 of hearts.
Where does this for? Draw. Ooh, nope.
Nope. Okay. You don't notice anything else. Okay, so presumably the lieutenant comes forward.
Yes, my assumption is that this man is essentially frozen solid. So there's no point trying to remove any of his clothing or anything like that and scavenging.
It would snap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, we don't want to file the men past casualty, so we'll just I'll instruct the sergeant to go back and just lead them on a slight ellipsis so that they don't all just tramp past this corpse of their former comrade, and carry on heading west, following the trail now.
Right. You carry on around. You do also find a dead Russian in amongst the trees, in a hussar's uniform. He's taken a musket ball clean through the chest, and then the body has frozen, as has much of the blood, which is in red icicles from the branches behind him.
Now, I will march the men right past him. Little morale booster.
It is a good morale booster, yes. It looks like there was a little bit of a sort of running firefight here. There's the occasional musket ball on the ground or slammed into a tree and fresh splinters.
Presumably, whoever won either carried off the horses or ate them.
Yeah.
So.
All right. We switch back to the little camp. Pierre's finished his bowl of broth.
Yep. Please, sir, could I have some more?
Of course. One of the other different soldiers gathers another bowl from a pot over their campfire and brings it over. They seem a lot less disciplined than your unit, and you haven't seen any officers. The highest ranking man seems to be a corporal.
This broth's really good. What is it?
We fought some hussars, took down one of their horses. I'll say this for the Russians, their horses are delicious.
Well, horse meat is very tasty, so...
You're French. You may have tasted horse meat before, so
yeah,
you probably have. In fact,
I mean, I've eaten horse meat when in France in real life. It's very nice.
So have I. It's pretty good. Can you make a quartermaster check, please?
Yes. Am I taking a negative because I'm injured?
Yes, -1, and you're aiming for the 3 of hearts.
Well, I got hearts, so it's a minor success.
Okay. This is not horse.
Is it long pig?
You don't know. You've never eaten anyone.
No, I'm just going to pretend it's horse. If he says it's horse and it doesn't taste like horse, I know it's something else, but I'm going to put that to the back of my mind.
Maybe Russian horses taste different.
Yeah, I'm very hungry.
Yes. Right, the corporal, who was the man who first woke you up, comes back over. We can't really stay here any longer, boy. The the Russians will find us again. Is there any sort of sign we could leave your unit?
Well, my unit were stationed at the place where you kidnapped the boy. Could we head towards that and we might meet up with them?
That would mean backtracking back towards the Russians. We need to press on to get to the column. But could we leave your friends a sign here? Is there something they would understand that the Russians wouldn't?
I could write something in French.
Might be a bit of a giveaway, boy. What if we left your drum?
I can't do that, sir.
I'm sure your lieutenant would understand.
But this drum was a gift from my father. This isn't a standard issue one. I have to keep this safe.
We'll have to think of something else then. Your hat.
I might get a bit of a cold head, sir, but that might be okay.
All right. Let's leave your hat here then.
They'll know it's my hat because I'm quite small.
Exactly. That was my thinking. All right. Now he takes your hat off your head and places it near the ashes of the fire as they stamp it out, organize themselves into some sort of loose order, and begin a slow, shuffling march. At which point we flip back to the rest of the unit. Some hours later, following Pierre's tracks, you come upon another camp. Doesn't look like it was abandoned that long ago. There's the remnants of a campfire and what looks like Pierre's hat next to the fire.
Sergeant, scout the area, see if you can find the direction they headed.
I will.
Okay. Right. 1 second, because for tracking them this far, everyone gets +1 awareness. I'll just make a note. I can't be asked changing everything. Right. So, scouting the area with the rest of the unit helping you under your orders. Would you please make an awareness check with +3 cards?
It's going to be, we had 8. All right.
The 8 parts.
3 of hearts. Best I got.
Okay, that's still a success. All right, so scouting around the perimeter of this camp, they haven't done a terribly good job of covering their tracks, so you're fairly sure of which direction they went off in. It looks like they also set up a crude wooden frame for drying their clothes a bit, and they've also left a kind of screen of branches up. And when you come around it, you are confronted by the remains of what appears to be a young boy. Hopefully not Pierre, you hope, as you look at it. The corpse hangs from a rope from a lowish branch, and the skeletal remains have been practically scraped clean of meat. The only place any flesh really remains is on the head, and not much.
Sir, we seem to have an issue with the people we're following.
Instruct the rest of the men to more diligently obscure the signs of camping, etc., etc. So, pile snow up over the campfire, deconstruct their frame, etc., etc. Anything basically to keep them busy whilst the sergeant and I go behind this screen. Just stare up taking a long time for my eyes to start from the sort of gristly tendons down by the ankles, past the calves denuded of flesh, and further up. Sergeant, when we encounter the men ahead of us, you will diligently write down the names of all the men that we encounter. I fully intend to see them charged. This is a disgrace.
I worry more about our young Picard. If they made a meal out of this boy, who's to say they won't make a meal out of him?
And Batard opens his mouth as if he's kind of sort of, as if he's incredulous at that, and then he looks back at the corpse, changes his mind about the possibility. When they finish deconstructing the camp, you are to instruct the men to make time and a half. We must catch these others as soon as possible.
All right. As to the body, are you going to take it down, bury it?
So presumably, you said there's a screen. I'm presuming like fir leaves would be the most efficient way of creating a screen, right? So it's
Yeah.
So if we can do it without any of the other men noticing, I will assist the sergeant in cutting it down and just collapsing the screen on top of the body.
Okay. Yeah, that seems like a good way to do it. All right. Now, marching at time and a half to catch up to the other unit. I guess it's a matter of who spots who first. So an opposed awareness check, presumably with the sergeant in the lead. So if you care to draw.
Okay.
You won't have the bonus from the unit this time. It's just you. You're aiming for the Queen of Diamonds.
Queen of Spades.
It's a queen.
No diamonds.
No diamonds, but it is a queen. So that's the same number in effect. So that's a critical success. So that's actually good. Right. And what do they get? They don't succeed. Okay. Right. So with Sergeant mostly taking the lead with a loose formation behind you and the Lieutenant bringing up the rear, you march off double time through the trees. The urgency of getting to Pierre has overcome the hunger and the weight dragging at your limbs. You spot fresher tracks, and then you spot a trailing man from this unit. He's wearing the same battalion uniform and markings that you guys are, but he looks like a kind of he looks worse off than your unit, like a scarecrow almost. And beyond him, you can make out a few other men marching along in a similar sort of loose skirmishing order to you. Though they're armed with rifles. And you think you see a shorter form of probably Pierre marching along beside them up ahead. But they haven't noticed you yet.
I will send word back to the Lieutenant. They've been sighted.
Yep, I'll come to the head of the line. Remember what I said, Sergeant. Try to keep fraternization between our company and theirs to a minimum.
Yes, and take their names.
And take their names, Sergeant. And take their names.
Are you going to make yourselves known to them?
Yes.
Okay. How are you going to do that? Just call out?
Yeah, if we're within a sort of sensible hailing distance, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you call out. There's sort of momentary panic just as they sort of hear noise. They all scatter and get behind trees. But then one of them sort of peeks his head out and comes cautiously forward, shouldering his rifle, and stands as straight as he can and gives a salute.
Who is your commanding officer, Private?
That would be me, sir. Corporal Alain.
Corporal. My apologies. Corporal Alain.
Oui, sir. We lost our officer.
Ah. Then it seems you fall under my command.
So it would seem, sir. Are you the company of the young boy?
Yes. Assemble your men. Muster them here.
Everyone, fall in. Inspection by the lieutenant. And the various sort of ragtag band of men come forward. Some of them look like skeletons, really. They're that thin and ragged. They haven't had even the small amount of supplies that you've managed to scrounge up. And many of them are quite ill. Bloodshot eyes, greenish pallor in some cases. Not much to inspect, really, sir. But we're still alive. Pierre, your lieutenant is here. Why don't you run on back to your unit?
Sir, you found us.
We did indeed, Drummer Picard. We did indeed. With only a small detour.
I found the people that took the boy from the other place. They're very nice. They gave me some horse stew.
Did they, Drummer Picard? Did they indeed?
We were fortunate. We were attacked by hussars and managed to kill a couple of them. Took some horse meat on the hoof, so to speak, sir.
Commendable initiative, Corporal. Commendable initiative.
Your men must be hungry. Would you like something?
Look at the relative less sort of scabrous and skeletal condition of my men compared to theirs. We will forego. You seem more in need of nourishment than ourselves.
There's a groan from a couple of the grognards, mumbled.
Now, my sergeant will pass amongst you. He will take your names, so that when we catch up with the army, we may properly register you with the quartermasters for new uniforms and so on and so forth. Sergeant, you have your orders.
You're very organized, Lieutenant. Commendable.
Wow.
Yes.
Make my way through them, asking their name and rank and such.
Yeah. Can you make a diplomacy check, please, Sergeant?
Sure. Diplomacy. Ooh, uh-oh.
You are aiming for the 5 of hearts.
Yeah, I only got one chance at this.
Would I have caught any of their names while I've been with them, so I'd know if they're lying?
Yeah, you've caught a few of their names, unless they were lying to you, of course, but probably not.
No, 9 of spades.
Okay. And for their awareness. Okay. You get the feeling that they don't much trust you, but they reluctantly give you their names and ranks and other information that you ask for.
Would my institutional rep rank and file be?
Yeah, you could have risked that, so you can draw an additional card for that if you have that.
Okay. That didn't help. 10 of spades.
Okay. So your rank and file reputation has actually dropped by 1. Or it counts. No, it counts as being injured, which is effectively -1 anyway. But yeah, I mean, the rest of your own unit doesn't really know what's going on because you've hidden all this from them. So they see you being incredibly officious and backing up what the lieutenant is demanding, which seems pointless when you should just be marching as fast as possible to catch up with the rest of the column. So yeah, your reputation's taken a bit of a hit amongst the men.
to stab another Russian.
So before we set off, a brief speech about how we are soldiers in the Imperial Army of France, and we will conduct ourselves accordingly, with
So
discipline.
laying a passive-aggressive guilt trip on the whole unit.
Yep.
Without directly mentioning cannibalism at any point.
Exactly.
Okay. Make a command check.
So command 5 + 1. Is that +1 factoring in? I have a trait or something somewhere.
Yeah, that's factoring in your father's gold pocket watch. Which gives you +1 card to command, but unfortunately, it's a metric pocket watch, so it's useless for anything other than boosting your command. Damn French Revolution! All right, so
5 + 1.
Target's 3 of spades.
3 of spades. Okay. Oh my word! I should have turned my camera on. First card up. 3 of spades. 4 of hearts. 10 of hearts. 4 of clubs. 9 of clubs. So yeah, 3. Doesn't matter after you draw that.
Okay. So you make a grand speech about discipline and honor and esprit de corps and how we will uphold the glory of the Grand Armée even in these difficult circumstances. Right? Yeah. Blah blah blah. It's very good. It's stirring stuff. One of the men from Elaine's unit suddenly gives a howl of anguish and drops to his knees in the mud. His rifle goes scattering in the dirt, and he grovels in the mud before you. Lieutenant, we ate the boy.
Still alive?
Not him, the other one, the Russian boy.
Immediately look to Corporal Alain.
He swears and goes for the pistol in his waistband. Right. Combat. Just give me a second. Right. Now, we would normally stop the game about here for a break, but this is likely to be the end of the game, this combat. So, everyone fine with keeping going and finishing early?
Yeah.
All right. So, let's see. Right, that's the stats for the unit. Nine men. All right. So, in individual combat, right, skirmishing, which is what we're doing. The commanding officer and games master determine the consequences for the skirmish. Again, I'm going through the rules because this is partially a kind of demonstration, I suppose, in a way that I normally wouldn't do. All right. If you win, the enemy will either be killed for their crimes against humanity and God, or taken into custody to face military justice later on. If they win, you're probably soup of the day.
My first desire would be that to presume that the corporal is the ringleader, especially given what he's done just now, and that maybe, hopefully, purely from a tactical rather than an ethical situation, if we subdue him, the rest of them will fall in line. So job 1 is subdue that corporal.
Yeah. Okay. So subdue or kill the cannibal unit. Right. Does any side have a tactical advantage? No, not really. You kind of surprised each other, really. You have similar numbers to each other. Phase 2 is discipline. Okay. Our lieutenant can now shout orders to his men. and you can dole out a number of discipline cards equal to your command rank, which act as bonuses to individual men under your command. So what are your orders?
I'm dishing out 6 cards, right?
Yeah.
5 plus 1.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am going to order Sergeant Lemaire, plus whoever happens to be nearest me. Oh, who was the man? Who was the private who found the Urbane? That private in our company?
Who found the
Chop down trees, yes. Him. Just
Yeah,
because he seems to have some sort of initiative about him.
Yeah, Urbane. Yeah.
Yep. So I will distribute 2 cards each to Lemaire and Urbane to subdue by any violence necessary the corporal.
Yeah. So subdue that man.
The rest of the company are to stand to, i.e., ready weapons.
Okay. Right.
Do I have to distribute all 6 of those cards now as part of this maneuver, or can I suspend 2 until?
You have to give them all out at the beginning.
Okay, in that case, it seems to make sense from a kind of pure gamey perspective to give 2 to Pierre.
Okay. So
Am I
Pierre,
just
hide.
as well?
Well, yeah. What do you want to order Pierre to do?
Unless I give him specific otherwise orders, he will act as the rest of the company does, and he is carrying a pistol, I believe.
Yep. So stand ready. Okay. The corporal doesn't really have much in the way of command skills. So he just says, "Kill him." All right. Phase 3. Characters, including the commander, perform actions reflecting their roles in the skirmish and take necessary injuries, etc. So each of you gets to take an action. So is Lamar following orders and attempting to restrain the corporal?
By restrained, you mean shoot with my British gun?
If that's what you want to do, you won't be following orders. But,
I think the exact word I used was subdue. Take that any way you wish.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I mean,
let him have it, Chris.
I mean, if I'm within 10 feet, then I'm going to pull out my gun and
okay. Yeah, the sergeant has a pilfered British knock gun that he took from a dead Englishman. So yeah, you can fire a whole volley at him if you want that, or to subdue the fucker. Okay, but you are acting against orders, so you don't get the bonus and from the command. And when Urbane sees you level your knock gun, he just covers his ears and ducks away from you. All right. Can you draw your cards for your knock gun, please?
Yeah. So it's by distance. How many cards I get? Is that am I reading that?
You're basically point blank range to the corporal. So
right.
You know, whatever the most number of cards is. He was going to shoot the man who kind of admitted what was going on, but instead he's going to shift targets and try and shoot you when he sees you leveling the gun at him. Okay, your target card is the 9 of hearts.
I had the 9 of spades.
Well, it's the same number, so that's good
Yeah.
success. So if that's your best one, that is critical success. Right, but now I check for him. How many cards does a pistol get?
Hey, he's pulling a gun on me. I'm pulling one first.
Yes, you have a much better gun. Pistol. Okay. And he's going to be down 1 card because he changed targets. So he gets 1 basic success. Okay. You got the same number, so that's critical. So that's... Okay. So you take 1 level of damage, so you're injured. Do you have that? It's just a scratch. Yeah, you
Yes.
do. Okay, so effectively, you're not injured at all. Okay, so you bring your gun round and pull the trigger. There's an enormous boom as probably a couple of the barrels go off. He is struck in the hip. A good chunk of flesh is torn away from his body, and his pelvis is probably shattered. He goes spinning around, but his pistol does go off. Sparks and smoke gush into your face, making your eyes water, and the ball scrapes along the side of your face, leaving a nice long scar along your cheekbone. But yeah, you ain't got time to bleed. So, but he is maimed.
Can I go and put a bullet in his head? Or?
You can. If that's what you want to do for your action.
Yeah, he fed me person.
Okay. Yeah. One of his men tries to shoot at you as you do so. So can you draw for the pistol? At point blank range, that's 5 cards.
Okay, I've got a joker, so...
Okay, so you can make that anything you want. So
yeah,
perfect success.
Whatever you draw, it's a perfect success.
Yeah. I drew the 4 of spades.
I got a 4 as well, just in case they get a perfect success.
Yeah. Okay. So you haul out the pistol that you were given, level it at the corporal, and fire, blowing a fist-sized hole clean through his head, and spattering the sergeant with fragments of skull and brain matter to go with the sparks and the nice scar that he has on his cheek. One of the other men brings their rifle round to try and shoot you in revenge. He fires. It does impact you, scoring a white-hot streak of pain across your shoulder. So you take a level of damage, which takes you back to maimed. But one of the other men in your unit returns fire with his carbine and kills that man who shot at you, stone dead, shooting him clean through the heart. Right, so everyone has gone except the lieutenant. So what does the lieutenant want to do for his action?
I don't know whether this is actually feasible because this is a slightly weird situation. I want to see if I can make a command test to order the other troops to stand down, lower their weapons.
Yes, you can. All right, their commander is dead, so they're only going to get 1 card for command to resist your orders. So can you make a command test with -2 cards, please?
So it's 4.
Because they all know they're going to be executed anyway. So
it's unlikely that my reputation within the 69th Regiment is going to make much difference here, right?
I mean, you can risk it if you want.
Yeah, I will actually. Yeah.
Okay.
So that gives me +2. So I'm drawing my standard 6, right?
All right. Yeah. So you need the 7 of diamonds.
Okay. Jack of hearts, Queen of diamonds, 1 diamond, 7 of hearts, 8 of diamonds, 2 of hearts, 2 of spades. What did you draw? Sorry, 7 of diamonds.
7 of diamonds.
So it's a match number. Yeah, number match 7.
Okay. So that's 2 levels of success plus. Okay. All right. So they definitely waver. Some of them lower their rifles and sort of look at each other. Right. And then at the end of each turn, what you do is you figure out how many named characters on the sides have succeeded or failed. You all succeeded, I think. So that's +3. So the lieutenant now makes a command check against the other unit with a bonus of +3 cards.
Okay.
Okay, your target is the Ace of Hearts.
Okay. 6 of spades, 2 of diamonds, 10 of spades, 7 of spades, Jack of spades, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 of diamonds, 3 of spades, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2 more cards to draw, 4 of hearts, 10 of hearts.
Okay, so you aimed for the Ace of Hearts. You didn't get the Ace of Hearts?
I got 1 heart. Well, I got 2 hearts, but yeah, I got a heart match.
Okay, so that's 2 basic successes. Right, but they only get 1 card because you killed their commander, but they do get a heart, so that's a basic success. So that's a draw. All right. Their morale is effectively maimed by you calling upon them to surrender. A couple of them have thrown down their rifles and put up their hands, but some are still fighting. So we do a second turn of combat. So, orders, Lieutenant.
Shoot all those still bearing arms.
Okay, and who do you want to give bonus cards to?
2 to the sergeant, 2 to drummer, and just because it's easier to keep track of, 2 to Urbane. Or the best shot in the company. if there's a more wider choice than that.
Yeah. Okay, right. And actions then. Pierre.
Well, I need to reload.
Yeah, but turns are quite flexible on this, so you can reload and fire. Basically, I think the idea is that everyone is using flintlocks, so everyone's equally slowed down by that.
Okay. Yeah, then I'll reload and shoot at someone then.
Okay. All right. So draw for your pistol. This time you're more at medium range, so I think that's 4 cards. And you're aiming for the 4 of hearts.
No 4s. I've got hearts.
Okay. How many?
1.
Okay. And you are maimed at the moment, so you should have been -3 cards, but I'll just figure it out.
Well, in that case, I presumably would have failed. I can draw again if you want.
Okay. Yeah, shuffle and draw again.
Yeah, single card.
So they got 2 normal successes.
Don't forget you've
got
got
3 diamonds.
You've got 2 additional cards from my command.
Oh, yeah. For the command.
Yeah. Okay.
Assuming you're not shooting somebody who's surrendering.
Right. I got 1 match on the suit.
Okay. Right. So you actually lose that challenge, but you did succeed. So you wing one of them. You get shot in return, which would be enough to take you out, but there's an optional rule where you can transfer damage onto basically red shirts from the rest of the unit, and they take 1 level higher damage. So Private Urbane is maimed as one of the riflemen lets off a shot and almost blows his arm off, leaving it a ragged piece of meat flapping at his side. All right. So that was Pierre. Sergeant Thierry?
I guess I'll level my gun at them, since I was going to try to close the distance so that they couldn't really shoot at me, and I could just hit them in the head with my gun. But I mean,
you could close with someone and beat them with the blunt end.
I'll just shoot them. It's fine.
Just shoot him. Okay. So second range band. Draw that many cards. You are aiming for the 9 of diamonds.
All right. So that's
don't
5,
forget
and I can use my +2.
Yeah.
What was it?
9 of diamonds.
10 of diamonds, king of diamonds is my 2 best.
Okay, so that's 2 normal successes.
Yep.
And they got 1 diamond. Okay, so you bring your gun round, level it at a man who's got his rifle aimed at you as well. You both fire at the same time. You're winged again, so you're now injured, -1. And he crumples and falls, still alive, but gasping and spilling blood over the needles. Right, and then the lieutenant.
Who at this point is going to fire at whoever is the most determined-looking man.
Yeah.
Using carbine. I think I'm probably outside 5 yards range, aren't I? So I'm drawing 4 cards. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay.
You're aiming for the 10 of clubs.
I got a 10 of hearts, and
Okay,
a 3 of clubs.
Okay. So that's a pretty good success. Okay. All right. You fire at the same time. You shoot him clean through the throat. His shot goes slightly wide and wings at you. You're injured.
Okay.
Right, but you won that exchange, even being injured. Okay, can you make a command draw, please? With no bonus and no penalty.
Okay, straight up 6.
You are aiming for the ace of hearts.
How many times does that come up?
I don't know,
3,
several.
4, 5, 6. 2 hearts, a 3 and a 2 of hearts. No aces.
Okay, so 2 basic successes. They only get to draw 1 card. And it's not hearts or anything. So their morale is now collapsed. All right, the rest of them throw down their guns and surrender. There are 5 survivors. You outright killed 3 of them. 2 of them have such grievous wounds that they're soon going to die. A half-inch musket ball is nothing to sniff at. Several of you are a bit battered. But they surrender. The man who groveled and gave everyone up tugs at your trousers with his thin, emaciated hands. Please, Lieutenant, grant me a swift and merciful death. I know they'll torture me and kill me if you turn us in.
The Grand Armée does not torture its soldiers, no matter what their crimes. You will accompany us until...
Please, sir, the shame, it's unbearable, please.
Quite right, and it is just that you should suffer. But I won't be your easy excuse, Private. You will accompany us until we reach the column. You will be handed over to the marshals.
He hangs his head. The rest of the men, we have to tear some of their jackets to make ropes to bind them with. But let them freeze. Fuck them. Can you all make 1 awareness check, please?
I'm at -3, aren't I, for being maimed?
Yes.
-1 for
You're aiming for the 4 of hearts.
1 heart.
Okay. Yeah, don't forget your wound penalties if you have them.
Yeah, so I'm only drawing 2 cards. No successes.
I got a match on the suit.
Okay. And Sergeant?
Just 1 heart.
Okay. So as you're busy sort of stripping their jackets and stuff off to tear into bindings, both Pierre and Sergeant Lamar notice that several of the men have like red welts on their bodies, like bites. Something's been gnawing at them, maybe some sort of animal or insect or something. Their clothing is a bit lousy. Maybe that's what the cause is. But you place them under guard and carry on your march west. As you approach the edge of the forest, you see another Frenchman standing guard, much like the previous one you saw frozen in the woods. And beyond that man, you can see the ragged length of the column winding into the distance, with the occasional body lying in the snow behind it.
Since I have a 2 in first aid, would that allow me to look at the wounds and figure out better what it is?
Yeah, make a draw on first aid. But don't forget your injured penalty. You're aiming for a 5 of hearts.
That's just 1 card. All right. Nope, 8 of diamonds.
Okay. Nah. Yeah. No idea. Could be a disease, could be swollen glands or something. What about this sentry, who presumably is frozen dead like the other one you saw?
I will do with this one what I should have done with the previous frozen one, which is to actually search him for any identifying documents, letters, that sort of thing.
Okay. You come up to him, and yeah, he is frozen dead like the others, and it's such a shame since he's within walking distance of the column when he finally gave up the ghost. However, you're shocked to see that his throat has been torn out. He's not been shot or stabbed. He just had his throat torn out here, leaning up against the tree, and ended up frozen to it.
Sergeant, what do you make of this?
Possibly an animal, and then his whole throat's missing.
Yeah, it's such a ragged, messy wound, and is then frozen. It's kind of hard to tell, but it does look like maybe a wolf or a bear. There are bears out here. After all, the sergeant's wearing the skin of one.
Well, doesn't really matter how it happened, I suppose. He fell for France.
And your bedraggled unit, with honor intact somehow, prisoners in tow, rejoins the ever-shrinking column of walking dead men heading back towards France. And that is where we lay our scene. Right.
Very good. Thank you.
That was fun, in a grim, nasty sort of way. So it's quite quick system. It's quite deadly. I like the cards, but it takes a bit of getting used to, I think.
I mean, yeah. I mean, once you figure the kind of core mathematics, which is the same for any deck of cards, right? You got a 1 in 4 chance of matching the suit, blah blah blah, multiplied by the number of cards you're drawing. Yeah, I'm sure they've worked it out so that it's a really, a rough sort of ascending curve, as it were, of likelihood. I didn't find it too bad actually, in terms of grabbing it reasonably quickly.
And it's quite a neat way of handling unit combat, I think.
Yeah, it's all right. I thought that was all right. I'm intuitively against card mechanics. It's not. They're not my favorite, So
yeah.
I would be tempted to run something like Call of Cthulhu style games, but with this, because it, rather than the D100, use the card mechanic for it.
Yeah. And I was thinking, you could use a tarot deck or something for other games, and that would give you an extra dimension you could add, like have the various tarot cards being triggers for particular special abilities or magic or something. If you wanted to go into it,
isn't there a game that has that?
Yeah, there are several games that use tarot decks in various ways, and there was Everway, which used like an oracle deck that you actually interpreted to determine what happened in the game, which is a little bit too airy-fairy, I think. I did do a review of it on my other channel. But yeah, I think it works well. And cards, sometimes they fit, sometimes they don't with games. But it's one of those things that almost everybody has, like 6-sided dice. So in theory, it's a good system to have for a game because everyone can get hold of a deck of cards. So
Yeah, there's
it's a little bit
that I saw recently.
Yeah. There's Deadlands, of course, but that mostly uses cards for initiative, I think, these days. But there was a kind of card-based Magic system in that as well. Yeah. I think it works. Yeah, so that was Duty and Honor. There is a companion game called Beat to Quarters, which is a naval game. And that works really well. You could easily take the naval game and plug it into just about any other game if you wanted to do piracy or ship-to-ship battles of any kind. That works pretty well. It works in a similar way. So in this, members of the unit do their individual actions, and then that contributes to the commander's ability to do whatever. And in a similar way, different members of the crew can do things in Beat to Quarters, and that contributes to the overall effectiveness of the ship in the battle. So it keeps everyone included in doing something and contributing towards the end goal. All right. I think that's about it. Any other comments or anything, gentlemen?
No, I'm good.
No, I think the rules worked well for what they were intended for. And
actually, I do have one quick question.
Yeah.
Were you actually, because I can't remember whether we established this to begin with, whether there are so if you get like multiples of the same suit, is each of them a success, as it were?
Right. So that only matters if both you and your opponent draw the same level of success. So
okay, yep.
So if you both drew the exact same card that was being called for, if you both got a perfect success, okay, you both succeed in some instances, regardless, but then you still have to determine who wins. So then you'd go down from the perfect successes to the critical successes. So if either of you had cards that are the same number, then you'd count off who has the most of that, and then down to the same suit, whoever has the most of that. So it's just a way of breaking ties, really, by going down there.
Cool. And of course, but actually, that's going to be the most likely way of breaking them, isn't it? Because of course, suit match is going to be 1 in 4. So yeah. So it works. It works pretty well, and then you're supposed to redraw in the unlikely event that you end up the same all the way down. So. Cool.
All right, it's still on sale from Omnihedron Games, and I do recommend it, even though it's like not fantasy or anything. It is a really interesting game, and they do some additional source books and things. So if you're interested in the period of the Napoleonic era, then it's useful. Or if you want to advance your fantasy game to like Black Powder and Age of Sail, then it's useful resources for that as well. All right, we'll call it a night there. Thank you, gentlemen. I think T-Shirt's running one game or other next week over on T-Shirts of the Historians channel. So trot over there and sub, and I'll see you on my normal channel. Postmortem video from tomorrow. Night all.
Night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.